Thank you so much for staying tuned to International Forum. It's all about the massive protest that is taking place in Hong Kong, to the extent that the protesters broke into the legislative chambers, and that made China, the homeland, so to speak, to raise the red flag. Graffiti everywhere in the chambers. They didn't go down too well with the politicians in Hong Kong, and of course the leaders in mainland China. With me here to do analysis is a clergyman. We'll talk about local and international politics. It's well grounded. Join me, welcome Reverend Humphrey Arega. Welcome to the show, sir. I appreciate your comments, sir.
Thank you. Good
afternoon. All right. And sitting very close to him is a legal practitioner, and when we talk about current affairs on both local and international affairs, he is well grounded. Join me to welcome Barrister Henry Wanzo. Welcome to the show, sir. I appreciate your comment.
It's a pleasure being around.
All right.
Good afternoon, listeners.
Okay. Over the years, the Hong Kongers, let me use that term right now, or the Hong Kong citizens, they've been protesting against the influence of mainland China. They went on a rampage, they went on a protest when it was time for them to democratically elect their leaders. But there was this imposition from mainland China. After much ado, it was settled, but it's like Chinese government, they have their way. And right now also, talking about the extradition law, they are saying that this is from the homeland. They want to dissociate themselves from the powers, so to speak, that controls Hong Kong from the mainland China. Hence, the protest has been ongoing. Hundreds of Hong Kong citizens coming out en masse, teenagers, youths. They form the large chunk of these protesters coming to say, Carrie Lam, you are a traitor. Say no to the extradition bill, and you have to step aside. Reverend, what can you make out of this?
Well, I want to say is democracy at play in the environment in Hong Kong. But we need to step back a little bit and understand what has transpired during the transition from British rule in handing over to China as part of his continent, as part of his establishments. Yes, there is a period to which the democracy has been allowed to thrive, but it also will interest everybody to know that there's no way China would have just stood back anyway and allow Hong Kong to be what he wants to be. When the Chinese people are in the understanding that this is our part of a country. But we look at again the scenario that played out with the issue of extradition. I've always said that once that handover took place, there was no way that the Chinese government will not interfere with the politics and economy of Hong Kong. But because of the treaty that was signed for the handover, which gave a period of time for which Hong Kong must be allowed to thrive on its own before it elapses, they are going to be doing it gradually from the background without being very open. And that was why they insisted on the fact that the person who must be the person in charge of governance must have their backing. You also know that once that happened, again, we look at the laws that were made and those legislatures. Yeah, I think the problem we always have as human beings is that we do not look at the various components of things. Those you elect into the legislative arm, what was the process of election? Before this last election, it was something that was done by Hong Kong people, but this last legislature was influenced and manipulated by China. They disallowed most of those who are anti-Chinese laws not to contest. So the majority of the legislature are pro-China. Then, of course, you look at what is happening. I try to listen to most of them. The youths are saying, look, this is what we're told. We're told we're going to be having our voices heard. That is still going on. And you're coming from the backdrop because we know that once there is an extradition and they know the laws, it's not going to be based on Hong Kong laws, it's going to be based on Chinese laws. And we know the kind of treatment that people have received in China. Once you are declared an enemy of the state, you're either missing or something happened, and they're looking at their future, which means our future is just going to be eroded. Then, of course, you have the issue of the moderate youths and the volatile youths. Once you do not take cognizance of people and do not work with them, you are bound to have this kind of inflamed situation. But then I also am a believer of the fact that you don't need to destroy infrastructure just to make a point.
We'll come to that. We'll come to that. Now you just hold on to your horses, so we'll come to that. Now still on the extradition bill that was suspended, but the youths are saying squash it totally, and you, Carrie Lam, our leader, you have to resign. Is that the right way they should have gone about it?
Well, from my own view, totally I will not be in support of they insisting as they have done. But the truth still remains that sometimes in a situation when you find yourself in a difficult situation, you look for an avenue to get out of it. So if the youths in Hong Kong, as well as, it's not only the youths as it were, different groups, even some political groups, as well as business groups, all of them are involved. Lawyers, the other day, or June 6th, they were there they wore black throughout protesting. It's not only the youths of Hong Kong that are actually, everybody is saying that this extradition bill should not go. And in addition, the government is saying that we are withdrawing it. But they are saying that it should be scrapped completely. That is what they are asking. They are not saying that you should keep it somewhere and come back later to say, I am bringing it in. What they are saying is that it should be removed in entirety. And the person there, the chief executive, as it's being ascribed, that is Claire Lang, they are saying that you need to go too. And again, that they are also saying that whatever action that they have protested peacefully, as it were, you are reading that it is riot. No, it is not riot. That they have protested peacefully, and that those who have been arrested at the process of this protest, that they should be released unconditionally. These are what they are asking for, that at the end of the day there will be peace in their homeland. They have their right, as it were. The government on their own part, is looking at it from their own perspective. It's what happens in every part of the world. Those who are in position of authority, they have been sent there by the people, but at the end of the day, you find out that they will be trying to play the game or the other way around at the detriment of their people. But today, the people in Hong Kong are saying that it is what they want that needs to hold. But the question is, how long will they remain? That is the question.
All right, how long will they remain? Now, from what he said, he said this is not a riot.
Right.
Would you want to throw more light on that? Because right now we are seeing destruction of properties, as in breaking into the parliamentary chamber, legislative arm, drew graffiti, smothered pictures. Is this not generating into a riot?
Well, most of the time, people define words and actions based on what they think and what they are. But if you look at what has happened, like I said, it has degenerated. At the point last week when they were demonstrating, there was the use of excessive force by the police, which was not, as far as I was concerned, it was unnecessary. They didn't destroy anything. They were just protesting and they want to barricade. And I'm sure that is what prompted the action that I've taken. But two wrongs don't make a right, I keep saying. Yes, it has degenerated from peaceful protests to riots. But not everybody is in the riot group. You see that? You see, there was still a group of persons who were just demonstrating. I believe in making your voice heard. I believe in expressing your thoughts. What they would have done is to form a human chain to say, this parliament, nobody goes in until our demands are met. Like I said, when you destroy, when I say then defacing, to me, these are some of the things I didn't like. Why will you go and deface a symbol? It wasn't a symbol of China. So that was the official symbol of the Hong Kong people. So why will you go and be defacing it? You know, these are some of the things. When you take things into excess, people you now give opportunity to others to give you a bad name to it. That is exactly playing into the hands of the Chinese people. Because as far as they are concerned, like I said, they watched you congregate, they watched you do anything. They didn't talk to you, you know. only for when you are destroying. The police are permitted to prevent the destruction of life and property, you know, and some of the things. So when they are making demands, they have to be sure that their demand is what everybody will appreciate. One of the people, elders and co, were not very appreciative of what has happened. You know, I listened to some elderly ones who were saying that we didn't like some of this thing they are doing, and this thing the police should, whatever action the police has taken here, that they are in support of it. But then I believe that the government also should learn to listen to the people, you know, and this is what is happening across the globe, especially some of these on the developing and undeveloped world. You know, leadership do not want to respect the wish of the people. They want to ram things on the truth of people. They say, look, we don't want this. You represent us. You're supposed to be our servant. You're supposed to listen to us. And once you don't listen, then some of these things happen, you know. And these are things that we need to look at. Why we agree that aggrieved persons should make their voice heard, should demonstrate which is a right, but don't take it to the extreme when you become a victim, because now we're looking at some things, and before you know what's happening, Chinese police and army may be coming.
That is the next question I'm about to throw out, Barrister Henry. Now, from what I was watching BBC and of course Al Jazeera, because of these protests, I went through, did my research, and from what I discovered, it was like the police allowed these people to gain entrance into the legislative quarters. Is that a trap so that China can come react or act on their behalf?
Well, sometimes you might look at it from that angle, but sometimes it might not be so true, because they too, who are the police officers, they are equally victims of what the politicians, or you call them, the people in government, are doing. So those of them who it is their primary responsibility to ensure that lives and properties are maintained. That is their primary duty. That these people, initially they came, it was a peaceful protest, as it were. But you know that sometimes certain persons will hijack the protest, either because they will claim that they are more aggrieved than other persons, but it is not true. So the police are allowing them going into the Legislative Council was primarily to allow them do that which they wanted to do, but without using that minimal force, as it were, at that initial time. But because of the destruction, that is why the police are, tried their best possible to see how some of them can be removed out from the legislative or council building. So what I'm trying to say in essence is that not completely right, that most probably it was a plan of the Chinese people to see it as an avenue to enable them come back and take over Hong Kong completely, as it were. I look at it from the angle that the police were only doing their duty based on how it is to be done in the best practices all over the world. You allow those who are protesting to protest, but by the time it gets out of hand, you have every right to do the needful to ensure that it does not get out of hand.
And I talk about it going out of hand, I still want to ask you the same question, Reverend. They waited till the wee hours of the night after they gained access into the chambers. Do you think that is like a form of a trap? You just fall into this trap because we would not want to hurt our own citizens. It's better that the mainland should take up the situation. What he said it's not true that it may go the other way, but you saw them breaking in. You did nothing until night when they already gained access into the chambers. They faced everything with graffiti, and you came in out to now start chasing them out of the chambers. Is someone writing a script that these youths are playing out?
Yeah, you see, like I said, you can conjure some thoughts. Nobody can really say exactly what the things are. But looking at it from my own perspective, if the function of the police is to prevent from harm, it beats my imagination that they will allow destruction to take place before acting. Again, I'm sure they also have a problem because what happened earlier the other week when they unjustly provoke the people with the use of force, even when they were not destructive, But see, again, these are issues that plays out. The government of Hong Kong have all it takes to prevent what has happened. But I also believe that they are taking dictates. You see, who made it possible for Lam to be
Chief executive
It's
of Hong Kong.
with the backing of the Chinese government, you know. So they take some instruction, they take some advice. There's no doubt about that. But when you now become the state executive, you have to look at what has happened. If before that period, the riot, the protest took place and you are withdrawing, why don't you give sufficient, you see, these are some of the people are talking about, let us have ability to interact with you. If you want to promulgate a law, let the people have idea about it. Let us debate it. Let's see what it is before you take it. But this one was not. If he has done that, I'm sure things would have not gone the way it is going. But I also believe, not that they have said, no, we don't even want to look at it. Why not say it's withdrawn? It's a statement, and people will have respect for you. The citizens have lost respect. But when you're also insisting, these are some of the things, if you are a Democrat, and a lawmaker or an institution does not like what you don't like what they are doing, you also have to wait for the process because he was elected. So you cannot just, it's not something you demand that it must be today. That's also, and to me, they were not sitting. If there was a sitting and you're going to disrupt the sitting of the House, I can understand that. There was nobody in the chamber, so what were you going to do? These are some of the things. If you have said, look, nobody will come into these chambers again, we are going to sit here until our demands are met, I will support them 100%. But going to a chamber that is empty, destroying the things, and defacing, you know, what exactly are they? If the insignias there were those that were foreign to the Hong Kong people, I would have said yes. But again, you are whipping up sentiments. You brought a flag of Britain and Hong Kong, which have been removed. That again is a sign that you don't even understand what things are. You are putting your hand in the harm's way against the Chinese people. When there's a reaction from them, it will be more devastating. These are some of the things. So you have to be talking about what happens tomorrow. What are you fighting to protect? If what you are fighting to protect, you are destroying it. How do people now say you will be responsible enough to do something for yourself?
All right, now before we go into the extradition properly, we are still zooming in on the protest. He raised a point which was about going into placing the British flag in the chambers of Parliament. Can that not be likened to as being a treason?
It's rebellion.
Well, it depends on the law of the country as it were, of Hong Kong as it were. Again, certain persons, because I am looking at it from the angle that those who are carrying this act, though some of them might be acting some scripts written by some other persons as it were, because everything has a political undertone. Because those who are demonstrating, they are not demonstrating based on the fact that it is only that law. They have said, we are withdrawing it. That is enough for every reasonable person to back out. But these people are further on, they are demanding that, well, accepted, you are saying you are withdrawing. But
they use the word suspended.
Okay, that is it.
That was the word he was suspended.
Yeah. If you are suspended,
they said expunge it.
If they said they are suspending it, because they are having the feeling that they have used the word, just like somebody said, I'm stepping aside. You have intention of maybe coming back later. But they are saying that if you are suspending it as it were, that you should completely. They don't want to see, they don't want to hear anything about it. But they are not stopping there as it were. Because even the government, if the government decided on its own and said, okay, we are expunging it completely as it were, are the people still going to stop the demonstration or the act they are carrying out? Because the people, at this point in time, is just like somebody who has let the camel out. Retrieving it back, it becomes what? Difficult. That is what is happening now. Now they will not only, the issue of the extradition bill is no longer the issue they are not talking about. Other things are coming up. Those who have been arrested during the protest, they want them to be released. The chief executive, as it were, they want the chief executive to go. Because now they have started it, and they are not going to stop until they achieve their total aim. Because their aim initially was the extradition bill, which the government or their own said, I have suspended. But they are demanding more than that now. I say, oh, you have said that what are the actions we carried out is, you are classifying that it is riot. It is not. That it was just purely a peaceful protest. They want government to withdraw all those statements as it were. And you will find that it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult for government on its own part to carry towards their line. Though accepted some countries like Australia, UK, America, and others, you know, are looking at it from the angle, a different angle as it were, supporting the action of the people that the government on their part should not use excessive force on the people. But when it comes to a particular level, as it were, government has no option than to do the needful to ensure that lives and properties are protected. Because as it were now, we have not had that maybe we have lost lives as it were. But if care is not taken, by the time you allow it to degenerate as it were, maybe 1 or 2 persons might lose their life as it were.
All right, maybe 1 or 2 persons may lose their life. Now let's zoom in on the woman you just saw addressing a conference talking about Carrie Lam. She's under fire right now. At first, she was the one being used, so to speak, by mainland China to bring about the law of extradition. And right now, she's saying that since the protest is ongoing, we have to suspend it, not expunging it. And she's been told to expunge that bill and step aside. And she was branded a traitor by the Hong Kong citizens, but to China, she is a loyal servant. If you are in a position, what will you do? Obey the people,
You see,
resign, or remain where you are?
You see, these are, like I said, you see, you can pontificate over issues. You obey your master in circumstances, because before it was backed by China, there must be things they saw in her. There must be agreements that were made before that was done. She has agreed to be loyal to China, and that's why she got to that position. But then she also has to obey the constitution of Hong Kong. So she's in a dilemma, I can tell you that. She's in a big dilemma of where to go. If she totally agrees with China, the constitution will be used against her, because the constitution of Hong Kong gives room to persons to protest, to voice their thoughts and all, which is something that you don't do in China. But she has, before, and this is the problem people have, she thought that because of the backing of China, and maybe because of members of the parliament, this thing can just pass through. Not knowing that there is some elements in the House who are in the opposition, who will also go to the people. These are some of the things. They leak the thing to the people and say this is what is happening. Of what? Every legislator ought to go to its constituency to say this is what is happening and this is what is your view. These are some of the things that has come under the situation we're talking about. So she will not step down. I said that very clearly. She will not step down, because for her, you have to go and look at the constitution, whether in such situations somebody is just allowed to step down. Even if personally you can say, well, I'm taking my own responsibility to say that. But the House, if the rules, even if it goes to the House, because the Parliament has to meet over such issues. You know, you can't just wake up in the morning and say, I've resigned. The Parliament has to do some things. Does the Parliament have vote for her to step aside? And who are you going to bring? You see, sometimes we believe that the person we see is dangerous. We don't know that the one we have not seen will be more dangerous. You know, if the one that comes after her, if eventually she resumes, is much more a hardened person, what do you do? So that's why you cannot get all you are looking for. You know, like they said, she has said she will withdraw it. To me, let them step back, and then look at what has happened. One of the members of her cabinet came out the other time and said, they said they will not get back to the people, to the various institutions and all, to look at the issue and find out how they can do it. But believe you me, this extradition law will not go away.
Okay.
Because China needs that extradition law to deal with the persons who have taken refuge, as far as what they have said, who are taking refuge in Hong Kong. So that is their own. They want to silence every critical opposition who are able to, but in Hong Kong, you are able to say anything. So, and that's where they are going to, and they will use their mind. America made a, I think it was Britain, that was asking them, and they're telling Britain to hands up, you're no longer in charge.
Okay, now you just hold on. I will come back to that, because people like that, you can liken this to what happened in Crimea, and of course the Ukraine situation. But I'll come back to you on that. Now, the last video you saw them trying to break into the parliament, so to speak, and they were holding a meeting there. There was a sitting going on there. Before they finally break through, nobody knew where they passed through to leave the scene until this angry mob stepped into the house and they faced so many things. Now, talking about loyalty, should we be loyal to the constitution of Hong Kong and it is in China, or marry her people, because from what she said in an interview with a correspondent in BBC, that she's not a traitor, that she grew up in Hong Kong, she's among them, she's feeling what they are feeling. But they should give her time to have a kind of a rethink or a restructure of how they can do this extradition bill. Who do you think she will favor in this?
To me, if she is sincere to herself, she should look at her history, where she's coming from. Very, very important. These are her people, and there's no way she's going to run away from them, as it were. If the persons who have brought her to power are trying to do things that will not augur well for her people, from every reasonable man point of view, she still have an opportunity, if possible, even before the extradition bill came into place. Was there no period for them to discuss? Did she not discuss it with members of the parliament before it came into, or before the bill issue came up for? Because it was when it came up for second reading that the arguments now, escalated, as it were. The question there now is, what was her own position, as it were, at that point in time? What is her position? Does she want the bill to be passed by the House? If she wants the bill to be passed by the House, what is her motive? Does it represent the best interest of her people? If it does not represent the best interest of her people, what does a right-thinking person do in a situation of that nature? Because to me, I believe that the best way out of it is let them completely expunge it, as it were. She can always go back to tell those who have brought the idea of, the fugitive bill, that this is the situation, as it were, in my place. And that my people are saying no, that we don't want it. It's the decision of the people. It is not her own personal decision. So nobody will hold her liable that you are not able to impose it on your people. Because if the people say, we don't want it, we don't want the bill. She is there. She's not representing the Chinese government, as it were. She's representing the interest of the people of Hong Kong. That she is there as the chief executive in charge of Hong Kong as a small
extension of China.
China, exactly. So it is her responsibility to ensure that whatever thing she does should be for the interest of the people of Hong Kong, notwithstanding whose us is God, as it were.
You're shaking your head in disagreement. Yeah. Could you please give voice to your gesture?
You see, we need to appreciate the fact that Hong Kong is a part of China. That's a settled fact.
But I'm saying they are not.
No, whether you say you're not,
that is the argument. Yeah, saying they are not part of China.
You see, you may rise up as one person to say, the instrument that handed over Hong Kong back to China from Britain clearly demonstrate that they have given it to China, even though they say one country, two states.
Two states.
You see, and that's the way what's this other country, Taiwan, is. And China is saying, look, yes, for this period, there's a period to which we say you should still exist. After that, we come back. And they're making sure that nothing inhibits their ability to, because they have seen what has happened in Taiwan. They gave a leeway to Taiwan, and today Taiwan is difficult for China to overrun Taiwan. And so the same thing has happened in Tibet. So they've seen two countries that ought to be part of China, and the agreement was that let them live whatever they want to live, can still be, and they're becoming very difficult for them to. So they're trying to make sure that that thing doesn't happen. Like I said, Lam is a servant of two masters. She's loyal to China, and she's loyal to Hong Kong. But you cannot marry two masters at the same time with the same amount of loyalty. Because it is the Chinese power that brought her to power. Well, we like it or not. Because every other person was disqualified, every other person was made not to contest for her to give. And China was doing that because she needed somebody who would play their card. And as much as possible, like I said, because of the constitutional issues, which the Chinese cannot override at this time, except by military fiat, and there's going to be chaos in the world, which they don't want to do. So Lam is in between. and it will be difficult for her to deviate to one side. It is possible for, but the point is, if it escalates, and that's exactly what these people are trying to do, and I'm saying that the youth has to have some restraint so that they don't play into the hands of Chinese and say, look, we cannot watch our nation being destroyed by young people. We must preserve it. You know, like some of the elderly people were saying, that these youths are becoming too temperamental, that these youth should slow down because they, the old people, love their Hong Kong. You are telling me you love your Hong Kong as if the youths are not part of the Hong Kong. You are already going out of your future. These people are going to their future. They want to preserve something. But the Chinese people do not have that propensity for democracy. And so to them it's irritating that when they say do something, people will start up to say we mustn't do it. It's not something that is very pleasant to them. Until the Hong Kong people are able to elect people of their own choice. She's not their choice, and that's why they're insisting that she must go. Because as far as they're concerned, she does not represent their interest. But how will they be able to elect people of their choice when there's already a tampering with the electoral system by China? So that's some of the anger they are having. That some of the democracy they are enjoying is being tampered with, and it may soon be eroded. Let us fight to preserve it. But when you are fighting to preserve, don't cause destruction that you may not be able to. Because right now, they'll be talking of how they will bring this chamber to life again to be what it should be. If there is no meeting, for instance, again, that's another thing. If the legislations can't meet, you find that executive fiat will begin to take place.
I was coming to that. Now, the house is like no more as it stands for now because of the destructions meted on the house by these aggrieved youths. According to some claims, they are being controlled because of the massive entrance and exit of the youths when the police started approaching. Without the house, can they really get what they are fighting for?
To me, yes and no.
Yes and no.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, in the sense that if the pressure continues as it is now, the house can convene in another place, because you have that building has been said this is the parliamentary building. Does not mean that even in our local setting, when they are doing renovation in the parliamentary building, they can be convened in another building elsewhere.
To the government house.
To the government house and do the needful. No, that is the truth. So if they feel that, oh, we have been pushed to the wall, as it were, and for the interest of the people of Hong Kong, we need to meet. Emergency meeting can be called. It can be, they can hold it anywhere and take a decision, as it were. That is, I am looking at it from our local point of view, as it were. But I know of a truth that if this protest continues and the government, as it were, does not do anything immediately to curb it, I know it will go further than, as it were, now. But the parliament, I know if they are sincere to themselves and they represent the interests of the people, nothing stops them from calling an emergency meeting and looking at the issues, as it were, critically from the point of view of a reasonable man, in the sense that what the people are demanding, are they legitimate? Whose interests are they representing? Is it the interest of the people or the interest of the Chinese government? They should be able to look at it from that point of view.
Interest of the people or the interest of the Chinese government? Right now, there is no house, Reverend. Because he said they can easily meet anywhere. As long as they're able to form a quorum, they can continue with the meeting without the structure.
Yeah, where are they going to meet? The youths or the young people or the people in Hong Kong are pouring to the streets in their hundreds and thousands and millions. I'm not sure there's any other safer place to meet that the people cannot overrun. These are issues that has to be. The only thing that can solve a problem is by a declaration from the chief executive, which is very delicate for her because of the Chinese pressure. These are issues. You know. But she has to save the situation of our country. To say, look, what you are demanding that the law we are trying to do is not good. We have expunged. But again, what are you expunging for what you have not enacted? this is the truth. It has just been it's been presented. But let them say, okay, we are no longer bringing it. It doesn't mean that tomorrow they will not bring it, even if they say they will no longer bring it.
Because that's what they are fighting against. They said we've suspended it.
Yes.
They say remove it.
But
if the government is sincere,
even if you remove it, that does not prevent him from bringing it tomorrow. That's the point. This is politics. Some of the are talking about. We have seen some other countries. They will recap it. It's the same thing. The same things, but they give you a different name. I don't want to bring in Nigeria since you are not allowing us to discuss Nigeria. These are some of the things. Even in Africa, I see some of the things. You see, so they should understand what it should be. So look, we don't want to see it until we have discussed it. If everybody agree, you see, it's not because the extradition may not have some benefits in it. You know, but the point is, why would fugitives have a place of hiding in the first place? It's not. It's because of the kind of nature of China that people are afraid that they can just label you, just like they have labeled some politicians and prevented them from conducting an election. That's what they are saying. They are taking prisoners of it. So if they don't trust the leadership because, as far as they are concerned, they are pro-China. So whatever they bring is something that has to favor China. So this is our position. When there is a period of distort, it becomes difficult for anything to happen. So the chief executive should find out how he can gain the confidence of the people for them to believe her. And that has to be done with the connivance of the politicians. If those politicians in the House can go to their constituencies with reasoning and let the people know that this is what is happening, then there could be some measure of reproach, of rapprochement for the people to be able to do what to do.
Do you see it's happening?
That happens, it is difficult at this time because when there's no trust, you see, trust is the basic
thing. Okay, fine. Now, do you see it happening? He made a suggestion that, look, she should go and try to convince the people to believe in her once more. Is it too late to do that? Because they're asking for resignation. You have to leave that seat.
No, I don't see it as being too late because the bill, as it were, she said, for now it is suspended. The next thing that needs to be done is those members of the legislative houses, they should be sent to their constituencies. Go and convince your people. Let your people know that for now, that bill we're talking about is no longer going to find its way to the heart. But what is there is that whatever thing that will be for the benefit of people, what do you people want? There should be a discussion, depending on how their environment looks like. If it is one that requires the man to go to his local government, go to his state, call a meeting, they look at the issues as it were, because as it is now, they are not only talking about the institution bill again. Other things that they didn't come out before now will not come out. That is it. Other things they have stomached all these years that they have taken for granted. People will now be, give them reasons why these issues need to be addressed now. So addressing the extradition bill will not be the only thing to be addressed. Other things will not be addressed, depending on what the people before now have been facing. That they are saying that the lady should go because they see her as a kind of what do I call it? They are
lost the trust of the people.
They lost the interest of the people. It's because of the role she has played. It's because of the role she has played. Because they are seeing that she has, maybe danced more towards the Chinese government than, towards their own side. So they are looking at it from another. That is why they are insisting that she should go. But to me, what I know and what I believe is that if she plays her card very well, ensure that the members of the House go back to their constituencies, talk to their people, she can come, she can address the nation of Hong Kong, address the people, and make them see reasons why initially they were talking about this law, that they were looking at it from the angle that it will be for the common interest of the people. But now that the people have said that we are not interested, we don't want it, well, good and well, that we are, completely, we are expunging it. If there are other issues they are raising, because I know of the truth that other issues will come up, because it will no longer be the those ones that have been waiting will now be, be discussed.
All right, now, ultimately, do you see the Chinese government bringing in troops to quell the protest? Because as we're talking right now, it's still going on. They are still outside in hundreds of thousands marching in the streets of Hong Kong, and China in the West been quiet. Though Britain tried to intervene, they were warned by China to please keep off. Do you see them infusing troops to strengthen the Hong Kong police?
If the destruction continues, there is the likelihood of the Chinese people intervening. But if it is just protests, marching, sitting up and saying, look, nothing happens except this thing happens, the Chinese will have no grounds to come. All they are looking for is an escalation.
Do you think there's an escalation right now?
No, that was
destruction of property.
Yes, that was done as of yesterday.
Yesterday.
Those people have been cleared, and the place have been overtaken, have been taken over by the police. If they can leave it at that, without going to destroy some other things, I'm not sure that the Chinese has any reason to step in. But if they go some other place to keep the destruction going on, then the Chinese will say we don't have any reason, because they don't want to see, as far as they are concerned, their country destroyed. You see, because that's why the Chinese people always say that democracy is not part of their life. Democracy causes a lot of things. If it was not democracy, these people will not be here. They will not get to that point, okay? Because as far as they are concerned, is to make, once the president makes a statement in China, everything levels. You know that. But here, the chief executive cannot make a statement like they are even trying to make, and people are not listening, because everybody is exercising their rights. But when you are exercising your rights, know that your rights also have some privilege and responsibilities. These are some of the things. Don't let anger overtake your reasoning. When anger overtakes reasoning, destruction comes in, and you have lost everything. And that's some of the things. That's what I'm trying to pray that it doesn't come to. If not, they will lose even the ability to even get Hong Kong as their country.
All right, I'm going to throw the same question at you, Barrister Henry. Do you see China intervening right now? Well, what he said if they should just stay without destroying properties like what they did yesterday, they may not come in. But from the way it stands, they are still out there protesting in the streets. Do you see Xi Jinping saying enough is enough? Soldiers, go take over the streets.
Well, to me, just as Pastor has rightly said, the truth still remains that if the people are not violent, if the people decide not to destroy anything, if the people decide that what we want is that we are going to sit here and ensure that these gentlemen and ladies who occupy these hollow chambers do not come back to come and pass that bill, that is what we are against. I believe strongly that the Chinese government will not come in, except it now degenerates into what? Violence. There is destruction of government properties and maybe some other person's property. But which so far I have seen that they have not even done that. Apart from the hollow chambers where they have occupied and where they are still occupying protesting, I believe that the Chinese government will not come in, from my own point of view.
They won't come in. All right, now, what can one really desist from all this so that other countries, even our own country, Nigeria, should learn from what is happening? Because it's like the world just seems to be boiling. One country, they have one issue or the other countries also get to see them coming out massively protesting. Sudan is doing theirs, Algeria did theirs, Morsi died. It's like the world is going towards one trend: protest against government influence or government policy each passing day.
Well, I think the problem is that leadership across the globe do not seem to understand the people that they try to represent. Instead of being servants, they have become lords. And when you don't understand your role play, you create problems, especially in democratic environment where you derive power from the people. And then you want to muzzle the people who gave you power. There is a point they revolt. The point you drive a person to, it has no alternative than to revolt. Because as far as it's concerned, there's nothing to lose, everything to gain, if I'm able to get this. So I believe that we should learn some lessons from it. One, that people have a right to determine how they are governed and how they are ruled, and that leaders should not ram things upon the truth of people. Don't just assume that you can do anything and nothing comes out of it. And two, there should also be some measure of restraints from those who are agitating. Because when you overreact, you are bound to overstep the things that may give people the ability to reason with you. Once the line of reasoning is cut out of it, then anarchy comes in. And when there is anarchy, nobody knows what next will happen. You know, and that goes to everywhere, everybody across the country. You know that even you see it happening everywhere in South America, in all of them. Leaders have become deaf to the people. And the only thing that the people now know is to go and to the streets and protest and sack. Some countries, they have sacked their parliament, they have sacked their prime minister by reason of the fact that they're not listening. But I'm saying destruction should not be. That's my own. If parliament was holding and say, look, we are going to that parliament, you must not hold. You can, if you broke a door, if it was only the door entrance that was broken. And they went and have a sitting, they sat in the parliament and said, you are not coming here, I'll be glad with it.
All right.
But not destroying the things that have what you are defacing doesn't speak to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Reverend Barrister. Your last line on this discourse, advice to government of the day, since there seems to be a massive protest globally against government.
Yes, one thing I would say here is that government should listen to the people. Yeah. They should not look at it that the people have no reason to complain when it becomes necessary. When you want to make a law, when you want to, for anything you want to do, the people should be asked and their opinion should be sought. Those who are representing them should have time to go back home, educate their people, enlighten them on the activities of government so that they will be well informed to avoid a situation whereby they will just have to hear from, just like when we were talking about the issue of electricity in Benin City here, about the issue of the electricity. It was just when they announced that whether the law has been passed, that is when the people heard about it. The people, those who is their primary responsibility, should do the needful by ensuring that the people are enlightened enough. Those laws you want to pass, that you believe that it is the interest of the people you want to make the law for, you should be part of those who take a decision on how it will go.
All right. All right, thank you so much, gentlemen. I appreciate a wonderful analysis. Like what I used to tell you out there, ours is to report back to you because we are still watching, still observing what is happening globally. And this time around, our satellite went straight down to Hong Kong. It's been going on for months now, for weeks now. They are out there, and some of them are turning violent. Will China react? Will Lam resign? Will that law be expunged totally? Only time will tell. Bye for now.